calling you, calling you to say His name. Allah is calling you to come home again. Allah is calling you.
A solution. We will get an example which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in the Quran. It's a beautiful example which we can derive so many lessons from it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the example of the wife of Fir'aun. ضرب الله المثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون ربي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون عمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the example to the people who believe, to the believers, the wife of Fir'aun, who called out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Oh Allah, build me a house in paradise with you and save me from Fir'aun and his deeds and save me from the unjust people." This is a story that anyone who reads the Quran would usually come to. This is in the 28th chapter of the Quran. And it's a story that people pass by, even though this is an example which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose. He chose from the history of mankind, He chose this example of this woman as an example. Asiya, who is the wife of Fir'aun, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, suffered many, many hardships. Fir'aun was the biggest tyrant in history. Not only was he the biggest tyrant, he was also Asiya's husband. So when he tortured her, he dominated. She lived in his house, and he tortured her. And in the last moments when he was torturing her, he tortured her so much. But when he was final moments of her life, she smiled. And this is a very strange narration when it talks about Asiya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased of her. When we think about why did she smile? And when we think about Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was thrown into the hellfire, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was thrown into the fire, they made a pit and they filled it up with fire so they can torture him. And he didn't feel worry, he did not feel stress, and the whole fire became like very cool and he stayed in it peacefully. Why is it when we have someone like Asiya and Ibrahim alayhim salam, they smile, and she was smiling when she was being tortured, while when we get a parking ticket or we get a traffic ticket or we hit something on the road, we feel so much worry and so much tired and we can't relax at all. Why is that? How can that be? I kept on thinking about that and reflecting about the story, and so I can get a lesson from it. And I was thinking maybe people just have more tolerance. They have more tolerance towards certain hardships. They have maybe what I feel is hard for them is easy for others. And then I thought maybe there's some form of meter where, yes, some things are harder than others. For example, if there is a death in your family, this will be obviously something much more difficult to handle than a parking ticket or a traffic jam. This will be logical, it seemed to me at first. And then I thought, no, that's not logical at all. Why isn't it logical? I thought, well, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was thrown in a fire. Yani we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that nobody sees this ever. And Asiya, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, she was tortured, she was beaten, she was all different types of torture happened to her, yet she smiled. Why did that happen? How did that happen? How is it that some people have nothing at all, yet they're happy and they're calm and they've got tranquility, and others have everything and they have all the luxuries in the world, yet they feel stressed out, they feel sadness. And then I realized that Ibn Ata'illah, when he talks about this, he says, there is no difficulty if it is done with Allah, with your Lord. And there is nothing which is easy if it is done on your own. And this is the true benchmark of everything around us. Where do we stand? If we rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we put our problems with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they will become easy. And this is exactly what happened with Asiya. Hopefully none of us will face the torture that Asiya saw in her life. But if we see little things like traffic jam, if you do a traffic jam on your own, then you'll feel this is the biggest problem in the world. If you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though you will not see the Jannah literally as Asiya, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, saw, you will see it in your heart. You will feel your Jannah will be with you. And with this you will have patience. You'll feel, oh, this is very small. This isn't a big problem. This is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same thing with Ibrahim alayhi salam. None of us inshallah will face the fire, Yet all of us will face a similar fire of facing certain problems, hardships. Maybe you don't have that much money. Maybe you propose to someone and she turned you down. Maybe you're getting divorced. Maybe you lose a child, you lose a parent. All of these are metaphorical fires which we live in at the moment. And nothing will give us the patience, nothing will give us the strong power to overcome these difficulties except if we rely completely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows what we are. And there's a very, very strong verse which gives us a complete meaning of our dependency on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He created us and He knows what our nafs thinks about or talks about, and we are closer to you than your jugular vein. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. And He chooses the jugular vein, which is the vein which is here, because this is the vein that supports, gives blood directly to the heart. If this is cut, you die immediately. And the same thing with your heart. If your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cut off, you die. You die metaphorically, your heart dies. Even though you might be moving around with us, you are dead in terms of iman dead. You need to wake up your heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about jugular vein because He's closer to you than your nafs, than your own soul. He's closer to you than your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the life, and from this is the meaning that He knows everything, and at the same time, because He knows everything, then you know that He will never give you anything that you cannot handle. And you know that if you truly rely on Him, He will give you sincerity. Just like the blood comes through your jugular vein to your heart to give you life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you signs and will give you iman to make your heart alive. He will make you live the life of iman. This is why people like Asiyah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when they faced hardship, they were tranquil. They did not, there was no anxiety, there's no screaming, what's happening to us, why is this happening to us? They had sincerity, they had tranquility, they had a direct connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we must know that we will be tested anyways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the tests are there. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةِ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Did you think that you will enter paradise and you have not been tested like the ones before you? They were tested through hardships. مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا. They were tested with hardships and sorrow, and they were shaken until even the Prophet that was with them said, when is the victory of Allah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Truly the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is near. The victory not just in wars, the victory over your hardships, over the troubles that you're facing. All of these are victories. Ibrahim alayhi salam had a victory. He overcame the fire. He sat in the fire and it was cool. Asiyah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, she overcame Fir'aun. Not by beating him, she overcame Fir'aun by smiling in the end. She did not feel anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her something to give her tranquility, to give her peace, to make her de-stressed. She felt the distress, she did not feel any hardship anymore, even though this test was one of the strongest tests in history. And the same thing with Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is why we need to know that our reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the key to solving all our problems. There are no problems bigger than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we realize this and we feel this in our hearts, then we overcome anything that we want. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us 3 types of patience that we should have. These 3 types are patience on calamities, when something hard, tribulations fall upon you. This is one type. This is the first type. This is the one that's common, everyone knows about. This is where we have something hard comes upon us, and then we say we have sabr, we have patience, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, will get us past it. And the second type of sabr is the sabr on doing the ta'ah, sabr on doing the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to do. Getting up for fajr. This is a type of patience. You feel that, oh, the bed is warm, I'm comfy, I don't want to get up for fajr. But you have to come up, you have to get up. And the ironic thing is that if you wanted to go to the toilet, then you would get up. You would not do it in the bed, you get up, but because you feel the tangible feeling, you don't want to do this, then you get up. You need to have patience in this. The third type of patience is the patience on the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden. Your nafs tells you, look at this girl, or do this thing. And you say, no, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to hold steady fast, I'm going to have patience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And those that do true jihad in our cause, then we will guide them to our path. Jihad not with the sword, jihad against yourself, the jihad of the nafs. This is one of the highest forms of jihad. When your nafs tells you, look at this, and you say, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered me not to do this. I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me. I want to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide. They will guide you in times of hardship. He will send tranquility to your hearts. And remember that with patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيِّرِ حِسَابٍ. The scholars, when they're talking about this, they say, everything and all the deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a certain amount or certain value that you will be rewarded directly to. For example, you do prayer, you do this, you say subhanallah, you get 1 hasana, except for sabr. Because it's such a hard thing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that it's something that is a reason of so much hardship, and there's so much tribulations, and it's so difficult for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful, and He's so kind, and He's so generous, that He rewards you بِغَيْرِ حِسَاب. There is no reward that can be written down or said. This is infinite rewards. إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَاب. Without calculated reward. This is infinite rewards. This is the jaza of sabr. So we need to realize that first, we're going to be tested. This is one of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed upon every human, that you will be tested. You will be tested in many ways. Second, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never burden you with anything that you cannot control. Third, it's all about perspective. Look at it, that everything is simple with Allah. Everything, no matter how small, is hard without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fourth, that these tests have meanings. The tests are there so that you can become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you realize that it's a wake-up call, that you feel, I need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith, that he says that there is no hardship, there is no difficulty, there is nothing that falls upon a believer, even that he is pricked in his hand with a small prick, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes away from his sins. So this is it takes away from the sins, it raises your level, it draws you nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a refresher to your faith. So remember, whenever you're tested next time, think of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Asiya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her and peace be upon her. Remember their stories. Remember that even the fire, even the torture can become a smile, can become a Jannah, can become cool if you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing is difficult. On your own, everything is difficult. I'll leave you with this message, and hopefully next time we'll find a different solution to solve our stress in the next episode of Distress. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is calling you. Allah is calling you. Calling you to say His name. Allah is calling you to come home again. Allah is calling you to say His name. Allah is calling you to come home again. Allah is calling you. His mercy far exceeds His wrath. He wants that you stay on the path.